In this tutorial, I want to show you how to crochet these 6 different cups you can stack to a tower. And you can also just put the cups back inside each other. They fit perfectly. And it's a fun little project. It's fairly easy to make and it's a safe kids toy, and let's jump right into it. For this pattern, I will use a yarn for 2.5 to 3.5 millimeter needles, my 2.5 millimeter crochet hook, a basting needle, and scissors. I will start with the color red, and this is going to be the smallest cup of them all. And in this video, I will do the cups vary in sizes, therefore the pattern is slightly different. But to do the first 7 rounds, you will always go back to this part of the video where I do the red cup to get the first 7 rounds. The additional colors, I will start with row 8. So for the first 7 rounds, we will do the same pattern we do for this red cup. So we will start with a magic ring, put the yarn around your thumb like this, go through, grab the yarn, twist it, pull out, yarn over, and go through this loop. And this is our magic ring. And into this magic ring, I will work 8 single crochets. And for the single crochets, I will do the yarn under technique, and I would advise for you to do the same, because the yarn over technique, which is the, let's say, more common and regular way, just to go like this. So when you get the yarn, you yarn over. This gives you a regular single crochet, but when you go through and you have the yarn under your hook and pull through and then do a regular single crochet, so now we can just do yarn over, this gives you a super sturdy single crochet with kind of an X shape in the front instead of a V shape. And the reason why I would suggest to do this is the cups really need to be very sturdy, otherwise they're floppy and they will not be stackable. So go with the yarn under technique. I will do 8 single crochets in here. So go through, yarn under, 1. And I will mark my first stitch because we will crochet in closed rounds. So this is my first stitch. Or not? Yeah, okay. 1, 2, yarn under, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the last one, number 8. And now I can close my magic ring by pulling on this yarn end. And I will close my round by going through the first stitch I made right here. This is the first single crochet of the round. So now I can close my magic ring even further and 1 chain. So each round ends with a slip stitch and 1 chain. The next round we will do 16 single crochets by doing 1 increase into each stitch of the previous round. I will start with the same stitch I just did a slip stitch in. I go through here, yarn under, 1 single crochet, mark my stitch, same stitch, 2nd single crochet. This is our first increase. In the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the same stitch. In the next stitch, 2 single crochets in the same stitch. So this is number 6, 7, and 8 in the same stitch. 9 and 10 in the same stitch. 11 and 12 also in the same stitch. 13 and 14 in the same stitch. Then we get to the last one. 15 and 16 in the same, whoops, I split the yarn there. 16, it did it again in the same stitch. Now it's time to close the round, so we go through this very first single crochet we made, and we will do a slip stitch and a chain. In the next round we will go to 24 stitches by doing 1 single crochet and 1 increase. So into the same stitch we did the slip stitch in, I will do 1 single crochet. I will again mark my stitch. In the next stitch we will do 1 increase, so 2 stitches or 2 single crochets in 1. Then we have again 1 single crochet, 1 increase, all the way around. And we're at our last increase. Second single crochet, and we will end our round with a slip stitch and a chain. In the next round we will increase to 32 stitches by doing 2 single crochets and an increase. So in the same stitch we did the slip stitch in, we will do 1 single crochet. I will again mark my stitch. Then we have the second single crochet and 1 increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Then again 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet and 1 increase. Repeat all the way around. And we're at our last increase, and we're about to close the round with a slip stitch and a chain. And this is round 4 done. Next round is going to be an increase to 40 by doing 3 single crochets and an increase. So first single crochet in the same stitch we did our slip stitch in. Mark my stitch. Number 2 and number 3, and then we do our increase. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. All the way around. And we have our last increase. We close around with a slip stitch into the first single crochet and a chain, and we are done with row 5. Row 6 is going to be an increase to 48 stitches by doing 4 single crochets and an increase. The first single crochet goes right into the same stitch we did the slip stitch in. Marking my first single crochet. Number 2, number 3, and number 4. And then we have our increase. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. So 4 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then we have an increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around. And our last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and we have a slip stitch into the first single crochet and a chain, and we finished row number 6. And row number 7 is going to be an increase to 56 stitches by doing 5 single crochets and an increase. First single crochet into the same stitch we did the slip stitch in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we do our increase. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Again, 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we have our increase. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around. And we get to our last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and we will end our round again with a slip stitch and a chain. And this is as big as the smallest cup gets. This is 7 rounds. We're at 56 stitches. And if you're worried that this is warping, there's like a neat trick. Just take that whole thing you just crocheted, go to the edge of the desk. Let me show you. This is my edge of the desk. And just go over the desk a few times and just let the stitches fall into place. And then it just gets flat. All right, now the thing is more flat. The next thing we need to do is the cup shape itself. So the edges that go this way. So then round number 8 for the smallest cup, the red cup, is going to be back loops only and decreasing at the same time. We will go from 56 back to 48 stitches by doing 5 single crochets and a decrease. And we only go through the back loop. So this is the stitch we did our slip stitch in. And if you turn it a little, you can see the V shape up here. And you only go through the back loop of this V shape. Let me show it to you on another stitch, it's easier. If you look right here, you have this V shape and you only go through the back loop of this V shape for all the stitches around. So find your first stitch, only go through the back loop and do 1 single crochet. I will mark my stitch. Then we have number 2, back loop only, number 3, number 4, and number 5. And the next one is going to be a decrease. And what I will do is go through the back loop, get the yarn, pull it through, go through the next back loop, get the yarn, pull it through, 3 loops on my hook, get the yarn, pull through all 3 loops. And then again, 5 single crochets only through the back loop. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then we have a decrease. Through the back loop, get the yarn, pull through the next back loop, get the yarn, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. Repeat all the way around, 5 single crochets and a decrease. And we have our last decrease right here. And I will end my round with a slip stitch and a chain into the first single crochet we made. And if you lay it out flat like this, you can already see that the corners are warping the right way. We are getting this cup shape. And what we will do now is go around and do only 1 single crochet in each stitch around. So we decreased back to 48 stitches. So do 48 single crochets and close each round with a slip stitch and a chain. And we will do in total 8 rows. So this is the first one, and I will just keep going until I have the amount of rows. So into the first stitch we did a slip stitch in. This is single crochet number 1. And 2 and 3, and just go around. So I finished all 8 rows of this red cup, and I only closed my round with a slip stitch and not a chain. Now I can cut the yarn. And I can just fasten off, and I need to weave in this yarn and the one in the middle, and our red cup is done. And you can see how sturdy the cup is. You can just place it like this, and it's the first of 6 cups. So we will do in the next color, orange, we will do the same bottom here with the 7 rows. So go back to the beginning of the red bottom and just go all the way up to 7, and then we come back to this. This is 7 rows done in orange, and for the next cup we will go 1 size up, so we will do 8 rounds. So after these 7 rounds we will do 1 more round to go from 56 to 64 stitches by doing 6 single crochets and an increase. So into the stitch we just did a slip stitch in, I will do my single crochet. I will mark my stitch. 1, 2, 3, whoops, 4, 5, and 6, and then we will do our increase, 2 in 1, 1 and 2, and again 6 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then we will do our increase, 2 in 1, 1 and 2. Repeat all the way around. last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. We end our round with a slip stitch and a chain, and we have this warp again. I will go to the edge of my table and now we will do the same as we did with the red cup. We will go through the back loops only to get the border or the edges. So we increased to 64 stitches, and when we do this back loop only round, we will decrease back to 56 by doing 6 single crochets and a decrease. And remember, go through the back loops only. So here is my back loop of the first stitch. I did the slip stitch in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then we do a decrease. We go through this back loop, get the yarn, go through the next back loop, get the yarn, 3 loops on your hook, and pull through all 3 loops at the same time. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then we will do the decrease. 3 loops on your hook, pull through all 3 loops, repeat all the way around. Last decrease, and we will end around with a slip stitch and a chain, and we can already see that this is warping up, or the edge is going up the same way it did with the red cup. And now we will need 7 more rounds of just 1 single crochet into each stitch, closing with a slip stitch and a chain. And I finished all my 8 rounds, and I already cut my yarn, and all that's left to do is fasten off, weave in this end and weave in the end in the middle, and the orange cup is done. Now we come to the third cup. It's the yellow cup. We did our 7 rounds. And for the yellow cup, we need 2 more rounds. So we will do an extra round to get from 56 to 64 by doing 6 single crochets and an increase. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we have our increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around. And we get to the last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, close our round with a slip stitch and a chain, and in the next round we will increase from 64 to 72 stitches by doing 7 single crochets and an increase. So 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then we have our increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and repeat all the way around, 7 single crochets and an increase. And our last increase, 1, 2 in the same stitch, we will close around with a slip stitch and a chain, and this is row number 9 for yellow. I will go over the edge of my table again, and what we will do next is go through the back loops only of the next row and decrease again from 72 stitches back to 64 by going only through the back loop. This is the first stitch where we did the slip stitch in, so I will mark this, and to get back to 64 we will do 7 single crochets and a decrease. So second single crochet, back loops only, number 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then we will do our decrease, back loop, get a loop, back loop, get a loop, 3 loops on your hook, go through all 3 loops, and again 7 single crochets, and a decrease. Repeat all the way around. And that was my last decrease. I will close my round with a slip stitch and a chain, and now I will continue with 1 single crochet in each stitch around, closing my rounds with a slip stitch and a chain. For 7 more rounds we will need 8 rounds in total. So I finished my 8 rounds in yellow. I already cut the yarn, and all that's left to do is fasten off. And we will weave in this yarn and the one in the middle, and our yellow cup is done. Let's continue with our cup number 4 in the color green. And I already crocheted the 7 rounds, the same as I did with the red cup. And we can now continue to add 3 more rounds, because for this one we will need 10 rounds. We have 56 stitches here, and I ended my round with a slip stitch and a chain, and we will increase to 64 stitches by doing 6 single crochets. Let's mark the first stitch, or not. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And now we have an increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around until you get to the end of the round. Last increase. Let's close the round with a slip stitch and a chain, and we increased to 64 stitches. In the next round we will increase to 72 stitches by doing 7 single crochets. First one, mark my stitch. Number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we will do an increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around, 7 single crochets and an increase. And the last increase, ending my round with a slip stitch and a chain, and we increased all the way up to 72 stitches. We finished round 9, and we need 1 more row to get to 80 stitches. All right, let's do 1 more round to get from 72 to 80 stitches, doing 8 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And then we have our increase, 2 in 1 stitch. Repeat all the way around, 8 single crochets and 1 increase. And we get to the last increase. We will close around with a slip stitch and a chain, and we're all the way up to 80 stitches, 10 rows. The next round is going to be our back loop only round, and also decreasing back to 72 stitches by doing 8 single crochets and a decrease. So let's start with the first back loop right here, doing our single crochet number 1, marking my stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and we have our decrease through the back loop, get the yarn, through the next back loop, get the yarn, 3 loops on your hook, and pull through all 3 loops. Repeat all the way around, 8 single crochets and a decrease. And we have our last decrease. And I lost my stitch marker, but I know it's this stitch. I will close it with a slip stitch and a chain. And we can see it's already warping in this direction. And all we have to do is add 7 more rounds of just single crochets all the way around. So I finished all 8 rows of this green cup. And now I can cut the yarn fast enough. I only closed with a slip stitch and weave in this yarn, and our green cup is done. So for the blue cup, I already did the 7 rounds, and now I need to do 4 more rounds. So round number 8 is going to be 6 single crochets and an increase. Number 1, mark my stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, and number 6, and then we have our increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around, 6 single crochets and an increase. So we have our last increase right here, 2 in 1 stitch, and let's close around with a slip stitch and a chain, and we increased all the way up to 64 stitches, and in the next round we will increase to 72. We will do 7 single crochets. Let's mark the first stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and an increase. 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around, 7 single crochets and an increase. We get to the last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, ending our round with a slip stitch and a chain, and we're up to 72 stitches, and now we will increase to 80. Now we get to row number 10, and we will do 8 single crochets. Mark my first stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and we will do our increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around, 8 single crochets and 1 increase. And we finish our round with a slip stitch and a chain, and we're up to 80 stitches, and we will do one more row to get from 80 to 88 stitches by doing 9 single crochets. So 1, mark my stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and number 9, and we will do our increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around, 9 single crochets and an increase. And we get to our last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. We will end around with a slip stitch and a chain, and we're up to 88 stitches now. And in the next round we will do our back loop only round, and at the same time we will decrease back to 80 stitches. So we will do 9 single crochets, back loop only. So here through the back loop. So single crochet number 1, mark my stitch, number 2, back loops only, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And now we will do a decrease through the back loop, get the yarn, through the next back loop, get the yarn, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through. Repeat all the way around, 9 single crochets and 1 decrease. So we finished our last decrease, ending the round with a slip stitch and a chain, and we have the first round of the edge done, and we need 7 more rounds. So I will do 8 rounds in total of, now we will only do single crochets in each stitch around. I finished all my 8 rounds of the blue cup, and now I can cut my yarn, fasten off. I only finished with a slip stitch, and I can weave in the yarn ends I have right here, and our blue cup is done. Now we get to the last cup. It's the purple one, and it's the biggest one of them all. I already did the 7 rounds, and we will need 5 more rounds. I will do a chain here. I forgot to chain, and we will do 6 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and we have our increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, and repeat all the way around, 6 single crochets and 1 increase. And we get to the last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. As always, slip stitch and chain, and we're up to 64 stitches, and in the next round we will increase to 72 by doing 7 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and we have our increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around, 7 single crochets and 1 increase. So we're at the last increase. We will end around with a slip stitch and a chain, and we're up to 72 stitches now. We will continue with row 10 to get to 80 stitches, and for this we will do 8 single crochets. So mark the first stitch, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and we will have an increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch. Repeat all the way around, 8 single crochets and 1 increase. And we finish our round with our last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, ending the round with a slip stitch and a chain, and we're up to 80 stitches now. We will continue with row number 11 to get to 88 stitches, and for this we will do 9 single crochets. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, I have to close this. 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, and 9, and we have our increase, 1 and 2 in the exact same stitch. Repeat all the way around, 9 single crochets and an increase. So we will do our last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, ending the round with a slip stitch and a chain, and we're up to 88 stitches, and we need one more round to get from 88 to 96 stitches. Row 12, we will do 10 single crochets. Number 1, 2, oops, okay, let's try that again. Number 1, marking my stitch. Number 2, okay. Number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And now we will do our increase 1 and 2 in the same stitch. This is number 2 in the same stitch, and just repeat all the way around. 10 single crochets and an increase. And we get to our last increase, 1 and 2 in the same stitch, ending my round with a slip stitch and a chain. And this is the biggest cup. We're up to 96 stitches now, and our next row is going to be the back loop only row. So we will decrease back from 96 to 88 stitches by doing 10 single crochets and a decrease. So number 1, back loops only, marking my stitch, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and number 10. And now I will do my decrease, get the yarn, next loop, get the yarn, 3 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through. Repeat all the way around, 10 single crochets and 1 decrease. And I'm at my last decrease, 1 and 2, through all 3 loops, and I will end my round with a slip stitch. And a chain. And we're done with our first round here, and we need 7 more. So we will just do single crochets all the way around until we have 8 rounds. So I finished all 8 rounds of the purple cup, and I only ended with a slip stitch. Now I can cut my yarn, fasten off, and now we can weave in the yarn. Here at the magic ring, just pull it closer. I go in the direction the yarn started. It's hard to explain. The yarn comes out this way and I continue this way. So I will go down this way a few stitches. And then I will skip a few strands and go back the same way I came. This secures it even more. Just do a couple of stitches, pull through, and then you can just cut the yarn. And we will weave in this second one. I will just go through this loop here and through a few stitches downwards. Just go through the stitches. Make sure you're not going to the other side. Don't pull too tight. And I will skip a loop and go back the same way I came to secure it even more. Just try to go back the same way. Pull through. And you can just cut it. And our purple cup is done as well. And with all the cups done, you can see they fit perfectly inside each other. And you can just go ahead. I hope this fits to the camera. And you can just stack the single cups on top of each other. But I think you get the idea. Yeah, and you can just make a little tower. And it's a Safe Kids toy, it's a fun project, and I hope you liked my little tutorial, and thanks for watching.